Yes, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm Jacob Turner. He's Andrew Jones. We are here for a quick daily drop. I prefaced it on the end of our Three Things video. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But we're going to be just kind of looking ahead a little bit and discussing why these next three games in particular for North Carolina are absolutely massive. A lot of that, I mean, before the Louisville game, the stretch coming up, diving into ACC play really for the first time, it's always important. When you go and lose by 13 on the road to Louisville, a game that you were a 1 point game with about 5 minutes left, and you don't score a field goal down the stretch and score just 1 point in about 5 minutes of basketball, culminating in a loss, AJ, these next three games become that much more important because of where Carolina's currently at. So Notre Dame on Saturday, SMU at home on January 7th, and at NC State on January 11th. In other years, you're looking at that 3-game stretch and saying, maybe with SMU being an outlier because it's the first time Carolina's played SMU in the ACC, you're kind of looking at this 3-game stretch and saying, that's 3 winnable games right there, man. State's always a little tough, but Carolina really struggle there. At Notre Dame, difficult place to play, but they're not great. Very winnable game. And SMU at home, you got them at home. You should win that game. That's not the case with this team right now, man. I mentioned it on Three Things. I could easily see Carolina losing all 3 of these. And in a weird way, I could easily see Carolina potentially winning these 2. But I definitely lean more towards the losses based on what we've seen in recent weeks and really just this whole season. So talk to me about the importance of this stretch, because you were saying it before we got on here, man. I mean, you were going through the records in your head. You're like, man, Carolina loses these 3. You have a losing record. I mean, it's just they're in a bit of a pickle right now, and they need to start playing better basketball. This season, AJ, can get away from them really quickly.
I don't think it's a stretch to say the tone of the rest of this season could be determined in the next 10 days. 2 road games against teams that are not very good, but could certainly beat Carolina. State, I would give a better chance than Notre Dame because I think State's probably better than Notre Dame, and it's NC State.
Yeah.
And Dontrez Styles will go for 20.
yeah.
I mean, State has some guys that Carolina will struggle guarding.
Mm-hmm.
But so did Notre Dame. State, I think, has more. So in that environment, an average Carolina basketball team blitzes through these next 3 without any issue.
Mm-hmm.
A mediocre Carolina basketball team, for its own standard, wins these 3.
Mm-hmm.
A so-so team goes 2-1. A bad Carolina basketball team goes 0-3 or 1-2. And I don't know what this team's going to do. I'm not going to call them a bad Carolina team yet. I think that there are times they are really bad. And they're not very good. I think we know that now 14 games in. But Jacob, it is not out of the realm that they lose to Notre Dame. SMU is pretty good. If the NCAA tournament went out today, SMU would make it. Mm-hmm. Talk about having to guard guys. They got Boopy Miller from Wake. Remember him? Mm-hmm. They're tough to guard. Andy Enfield, their head coach, is an offensive-minded coach. People think he's a genius. He's a great shooting instructor, teacher. Always been that guy. In fact, sidebar, I did a piece for the ACC Sports Journal a long time ago about ACC assistant coaches and what they wanted to do in their careers. It was a guy like Michael Adams at Maryland, and Andy Enfield was at Florida State, and he was the guy I talked to for a while, and we talked about shooting and how he teaches shooting. His club is going to be well coached, especially on the offensive end. That doesn't bode well for a Carolina team that's not good defensively. Mm-hmm. And then you go into State. State's going to play with tremendous energy. The building will be full. The fans will look at the blood and water like sharks would, and Carolina could well have blood in the water at that point. And man, if Carolina loses to Notre Dame and loses to SMU, the idea of NC State knocking Carolina under 500, that place will be a zoo. It's going to be a zoo anyway. It'll be a hornet's nest. Mm-hmm. I think there's a chance. I think the chances that Carolina wins all 3 of these are the same as that they lose all 3. Yeah. Which is crazy. I think right now, I would think maybe they find a way to win 2.
Mm-hmm.
That would put them at 10-7.
Mm-hmm.
10-7 is not very good when, what are they now, 2-6 in quad 1 games.
Yeah.
So if they lose all 3, they have a losing record. If they win all 3, they're 11-6, and they're in really good shape as far as launching into the next phase of the season. I also think the tenor of the season will be very different. I got something in my eye right here. Very different at 11-6 as opposed to 10-7. You can say they need to win all 3. It would be very good for them to win all 3. I'm not sure they will.
Yeah, I mean, AJ, the problem and the predicament that Carolina's put itself in is they can't really afford to lose many more games if they want to get in the tournament. I mean, it feels like we've spent the last month or so, because of how poor Carolina was in non-conference in these Q1 games, Louisville counting as another quad 1 loss. They put themselves in this predicament in a bad ACC that they can't really afford even to go 1-2 in these next 2 games. I mean, they really can't. Even 2-1, you can make a case and say, yeah, maybe it depends who you lose to. Maybe it depends who you beat there. But Carolina's put themselves in this predicament where we're having to have discussions like this of like, and look at these quad and net things weeks ago because they were so poor in non-conference. So it's not out of the realms of possibility that Carolina goes 0-3. It's not out of the realms of possibility that Carolina goes 2-1 or maybe wins all 3. I mean, I think this team can be Jekyll and Hyde at times, and we've seen them look pretty good, and we've also seen them look absolutely horrific. I think the problem is right now, AJ, where this team finds itself in is they've looked bad more than they've looked good, especially in recent weeks. So I don't know, man. It's a shame that this team is where they are right now, but the only people they have to blame is themselves, man. They put themselves in this predicament where we have to hop on a podcast and say, can they beat Notre Dame, SMU, and State? I'm not feeling very confident they can. I don't know. It's a weird one.
They can. They should.
Should say will they? I think is probably what I should have.
Let's look at this.
They definitely can, but
in one of our basketball shows didn't we talk about sort of where the loss number is, that they can't afford a certain number of losses?
I think so.
They're at 6 now, and they still have to play Duke twice. They still have to play Pitt twice, and they have a stretch where they're at Pitt, at Duke, home against Pitt, and they have to go to Clemson. So those are 5 games right now that nobody with any ounce of intelligence would pick them to win, not even Pitt at home. And there's some other tough games in there, obviously. So if you look at that, and if they go 0-5 in those games, that puts them at 11 losses without the ACC tournament yet. The ACC tournament would put them at 12. Mm-hmm. So 12 by selection Sunday. But if they lose those 5, they'll be 2-11 in quad 1 games.
Yeah, you're probably not getting in.
And Florida State could be a quad 1 game later on. We don't know. Yeah, because even if they lost all these good teams, but the committee can look at that and say, yeah, but what did they do? They had all those opportunities and didn't do enough with them.
Yeah.
And look at the 2 wins. They were down 20 to Dayton, beat them by 2? Mm-hmm. And they stopped UCLA at the last position. They haven't beaten a good team where they're with 4 minutes left. They're up 8, and there's the under 4 timeout, and Hubert says, let's go into our delay game, if you will. They haven't been in that situation all year. Mm-hmm. So what makes us think they're going to start doing that?
No.
There's no room for error. There's no room for error. So even if let's say they end up with 11 losses, but they beat Duke once and they beat Pitt once. Those are great wins. That also means then they're going to have losses somewhere else. And there are only a handful of games in this league, other games that would be on their schedule, that losses won't actually hurt them with the selection committee. You lose at Syracuse, you'll be hurt. You lose at Wake, you won't really be hurt that much. Lose at State, but you lose at Virginia Tech, that'd be awful. You lose at Syracuse, that'll be awful. Lose at Notre Dame, that'll be awful. Should be BC at home. I guess that's another one, BC and Miami. Mm-hmm. But that's not good. Those are just games that have to be played because they're on the schedule.
Yeah.
So when here it is, January 1st. It is New Year's Day, which is wild.
Yep.
You like it. It's New Year's Day, and we're talking about this team's resume already, and we're talking about it in depth. That's a problem. This has happened way too often. It's 3 of the last 6 years North Carolina basketball has missed the NCAA tournament. They would have missed it if there was a tournament in the COVID year. Mm-hmm. And 2 of those years, they had to fight down the end just to get into the tournament. In the last 6 years, the only Carolina basketball team that went into February as a lock to make the tournament was last year.
Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting situation, and I think patience is wearing thin with a large section of the fan base, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but it might go even further than that, because again, football is what it is, AJ. We've seen mediocrity for a long time. I've always joked, and I've always said, and I say it's a joke because there's a lot of truth in it. You don't mess with Carolina basketball, man. And if you start having these years and you're not performing, and we're having these conversations 3 out of 6 years in January, where we're like, will they get in the tournament? Probably get. I mean, we're talking right now, AJ, what we're saying. I don't want to be all doom and gloom. I think it's more likely than not Carolina doesn't get in the tournament based on what we've seen in the Louisville game.
They're not a tournament team.
No, they're not.
They don't look like a tournament team.
Exactly.
I'm watching them courtside today, and we're recording this obviously on Wednesday. And I'm looking out there, and I'm thinking, there's a couple of really nice players. This is not a tournament team.
Yeah, they're not a.
They have, without naming names, I think it's safe to say that. Well, they have 10 scholarship guys. 3 of them are playing at or above expectation. Mm-hmm. 7 of them are playing not just below expectation, but way below expectation. Mm-hmm. Well, one's not way below. Mm-hmm. I'll single out RJ. He's not playing way below. But a lot of his is affected by others out there. But he's playing below expectation. He'll be the first one to tell you that. But there's 6 that are, I'm talking like expectations, we're here and they're down here, or even more, way below. Mm-hmm. You know who I'm talking about. And Absolutely. The rest of them, I guess maybe one of them, I don't think we had expectations for Ty Cloutish. Probably should include him in there, but he's not really in the 10. So, yeah.
It's just not a good team right now.
There are a few guys that they thought would be starters and, 11, 12, 13-point guys with rebounds and defense and some rim protection. They thought that going into the season, and they're not getting a smidge of that. Mm-hmm. There are a couple of other guys, role players, that they thought they would get more from on a consistent basis, and they're not. They'll go multiple games without really getting anything from them.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that's played above expectations is hurt right now. Mm-hmm. And the other 2 are freshmen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, I think the key word you hit on there, it's just not a very good team. There's some individuals that are decent and, some guys that have a lot of talent, but none of that really matters if it doesn't culminate in a good team. And they're just not that right now for a number of different reasons, which go watch the 3 Things video if you haven't seen it from the Louisville game, because we talk a lot more about why they're not a very good team. If you want to hear more about that, go listen to it. But I think right now is probably a good place to wrap this one up. Because I promised to us off camera we wouldn't go more than about 15, and I think we're about there right now. But we could also spend about an hour talking about why this team is not in a very good situation, to say the least. So I think we'll leave it there, AJ.
It's 11:14.
Yeah, for a 6 o'clock game, but it's a little bit later. I mean, not too much later than a typical would be.
Well, the game ran late. It took forever for Hubert to come out.
Hell, the game didn't even start till like 6:15. It felt like.
Yeah, the game ran late. It took Hubert a while to come out, and then we were talking. Some of us were talking, just kind of hashing out thoughts. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
you got to go right.
Right. The videos are up, so it takes a while. It takes longer than people.
Yeah, no doubt. No,
I'm going to actually walk back to my hotel room here in a minute and finish my work there.
Right, nice, sweet. That'll be good. Get your steps in as well. So.
Let me see what the temperature is right now.
I'd say 40 something probably.
It's 31.
Oh, good Lord!
And feels like 24.
Hell, it's degrees colder than it is here.
Hold on, 31 and Oh, well, 18 mile an hour winds.
Yeah, it's
I do have a
7
pullover.
degrees colder than where
For
I'm at.
those that never see me wear a jacket, I do have a pullover with me.
There you go. I'm glad you did. You're going to need that out there, man. Well, that sounds like a thrilling walk coming up for you. So I'm going to let you go enjoy that beautiful, brisk walk in the heart of Louisville. And we're going to get the heck out of here because you got plenty of work to
Wake
do.
me up.
Yeah, that's true. You'll be ready to go. You don't need to eat anything, man. You don't need any 5-hour energy or nothing. That'll just get you
I
rolling.
need 5-hour energy.
That's a combo. You should drink the 5-hour energy when you're walking home, because I think that walking, freezing your butt off, and drinking a 5-hour energy might be just the injection of a lifetime that you need to go
It would
right.
be a 5-hour slushy.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, we're gonna go ahead and get the heck out of here because we both got work to do. So I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Appreciate y'all watching. As always, go make sure you lock into TarHeelIllustrated.com. A lot of great stuff. Will come out after the Louisville game, so you can go read the Louisville content if you want. But we'll have plenty of more stuff, obviously leading up to the Notre Dame game, and great time to sign up as well. $8.33 a month. Ton of stuff going on the boards right now with football just being a 24/7, 365 day a year thing now with the whole new coaching staff coming in that hasn't been announced yet. So make sure you guys go sign up. Links in the description below. We appreciate y'all watching as always, and we'll see y'all next time. Thanks.